Alright, so I just wanted to give you a little overview of my setup. I've got two LTU lights connected in a point-to-point configuration. I'm going to log into the master LTU light, and you'll see that they're linked up. Capacity is between 4 and 500, and you'll see, a lot of good information on this screen, and basically this is just the dashboard web interface for the unit, and you can see it's connected at 8x. Yeah, so it works great. I'll just do a little speed test here so you can see the speed between the two. And you'll notice the little graphs up here, the circles, they'll fill up based on the throughput of each device. So it's transmitting and receiving 470, 470. So that's simultaneously, so both directions. So that's it's a pretty good, solid connection between the two. So these two are linked together, and it'll let you run a speed test, directly between the units. No other outside hardware is needed. So to set this up, you go in here. So this is the master. Previously, the LTU lights could not act as masters, or stations as Ubiquiti calls them. So now it's called master mode. You flip that on, and then basically this unit is the access point. This unit is the CPE, or it's connecting to the access point. So you can set, the device on master mode. One cool thing they have is they call it link management. And this unit, if you change settings on it, it'll basically tell the listening unit, hey, we're changing channels, or change your settings to this. You can turn it off, but that way your settings are always synced up and you don't have to go into every single device and change stuff. You can change your upload and download ratio, up to 25/75 either way. So that's kind of nice if you want to prioritize, download traffic over upload traffic. You can prioritize latency over capacity. It's kind of the trade-offs there. And then you've got your link frequency down here, which I have set manually. You'll notice it says best, and it shows you this black bar. Well, that's your 100 megahertz channel width. So you can, you can look around. The redder colors are, where there's interference, so it picks the best area. You can put it on auto, and this all goes away. But if you run split frequency, there's not a lot of room to move around with the 100 megahertz channel, but if you're using narrower channels, it does allow you to split your TX and RX into two frequencies, which is kind of nice. The downside to that is you can't go into the DFS channels when you run and split. So it has its use case, I guess. So this is on, I picked the best frequency, but DFS, there's not a lot of stuff on DFS just because most stuff stays off of it unless it has to go on there. So that's kind of nice. So yeah, that is the setup for it. And go back to the dashboard here. Yeah, so it looks similar to like what your AirMax stuff looks like, but it's completely new, not compatible with AirMax. Now, if you want to do the point-to-point with two LTU lights, you do have to put the firmware on it that has point-to-point. And this was a little confusing when I started doing it. So mine came with version 205 down here. And I'm like, okay, I want to get point-to-point. I assume if I just update it to the latest version, I'll get that. No, you won't. The version 1, these are the ones with point-to-point on them. So 1.5.5 1.5.2, yada yada yada. 1.5.1 is the first one with point-to-point software for the LTU Lite. Now, to upgrade to the 1.5.1, your firmware has to be at least 2.3.1, otherwise it'll fail the firmware check and say it's incompatible. So you have to update to at least 2.3.1, and then you can jump to the 1.5.1, or you can just jump all the way to 1.5.4. So if you're on an older one, just update to the latest version 2 first, and then jump to 1.5.4. That's what I did, and for both units, and had no problems. So you will have to update to that, and it will, when you update to 1.5.4 from 2.3.4 or whatever, it will tell you that you're downgrading, but obviously the 1.5.4 is the latest version of the version 1, as they're calling it. And when you download it, you'll notice here the 1.5.4 has PtP in the file name, and if you download the 2.3.4, that one does not. So that's how you can kind of tell the difference, which ones are point to point. It took a little while to figure that out. So once you upload that, that's all you got to do, and then it'll give you the option to flip the LTU Lite to the master mode. Now, one other thing, if you are updating the firmware, I did have an issue where I couldn't just get into it, and I had to go into the unit directly, and it reset the country. So I had to go in with the web interface. I couldn't do that if you use the Bluetooth management to connect up. That is something you have to go into the web interface, or at least I couldn't figure out how to do it in the Bluetooth. It reset the country. I'm using the international version, so you have to tell it that you're in the US, otherwise it basically won't power up the radio, at least the Wi-Fi radio. So if you're using the US version or your specific country version, that shouldn't be an issue, but just a heads up, I was trying to figure out why it wasn't working, and I finally went into the web interface, and it's like, what's your country? And after I did that, it worked fine. So you can see I'm on 1.5.4, and it actually says here you have the latest firmware. So that's good. And then you do have to have the same firmware version as other units, I found. So if they're on an old one, you're on a new one, things won't always play nice. So make sure they're matched up so that you can get the best experience. And yeah, that's all I've got for today. Thanks.